Hello and welcome to today's webinar on managing the Oracle audit process. My name is Hayden and I work with UKOUG. First of all, I want to say a massive thank you to Wilson for taking the time to prepare and deliver today's content. Wilson is incredibly knowledgeable within the licensing field, so please do fire over as many questions as you can think of. I will explain how to do all this shortly. Just as a statement for today's webinar in particular, all information given when registering will not be shared with any third party. This will only be processed internally and used for our own data and engagement purposes. So this will not be shared to anybody else. I know that we do have a few guests signed up today that aren't currently members with UKOUG. So I just want to give a brief introduction about what we do as a whole. We are an independent Oracle user group. We exist to deliver to the needs of our community. Now, this simply means that we deliver webinars, meetups, events, and huge conferences based on your Oracle application and technology needs. Whether it's the latest updates, problems you are coming across or simply deciding your future platform or software journey, we are here to help. We connect you to experts and other like-minded people within your community. Being independent from Oracle means we are able to deliver unbiased content. We present real end user stories from people that are using the platforms, all the goods, the bads, the uglies and the greats. It's all unbiased. Just to talk quickly about a couple of events that we have coming up. We recently launched the agenda for our annual OUG Scotland event on the 12th of June. Hosted in Glasgow, this event has 6 streams of content. We'll be delivering on database, middleware and development, Apex, business analytics, EPM, cloud, SaaS, and EBS on-prem. I've picked out a couple of sessions that may be of interest to you. You can see them at the bottom of your screen. If you are interested in attending or would like to know more, please just follow the link at the bottom of the page or simply email me directly. My email will be at the beginning and the end of each of the slides, and you can contact me via GoToWebinar as well. Another event we have, which is exciting, we've recently exciting new launch for our upcoming Applications Unlimited event. This will be hosted in Reading on the 18th and 19th of June. This event will be purely application focused, tackling EBS, Hyperion, PeopleSoft, JDE, and transitioning to cloud. We are still currently calling for content, meaning if you want to speak at the event in regards to one of the previous topics, and please do get in contact with me directly. If you would like to know more or register yourself for the event, again, either follow the link at the bottom of the page or get in contact with me directly. Just before we get started, a couple of housekeeping rules. If you have any questions, Wilson will be taking them as we go for a more interactive experience. So if you have a question about something he's currently talking about, please just pop it in the question box bottom right. Straight away, that will come through to me and I will pass it over to Wilson, who will answer that immediately. If you are having trouble seeing the screen or if I sound a bit distorted, please just type into that question box, I can't hear or I can't see, and we will do our best to resolve the situation. You will receive a post-webinar email on how to access the webinar. We will be recording this live, so therefore you'll get a copy, you can send it to your peers, your colleagues, it'll be hosted on our YouTube, on our library, and I'll also hand over Wilson's details as well, so if you want to get in contact with him directly, you can. Without further ado, I shall be handing over to Wilson now. Bear with.
Morning, everybody. This is Wilson Bigg. Today, I'm going to present managing the Oracle audit process. This is from I'm a software asset manager and a licensing expert. This is from a software asset manager's perspective, not necessarily that of, say, an Oracle user or even an Oracle DBA. And I'm going to take you through the process. A lot of people believe the process to be contentious. I don't think it is. They often use the word defense. Personally, I think by the time you get into an audit, if you don't have your data organized and you don't understand your position, it's kind of too late. So the main tenet of what I'm going to tell you is what will happen so that you can prepare your organization for an audit. And I think it's safe to assume that at some point, if you're a reasonably large user of Oracle, or actually in my experience even some quite small users, at some point you're likely to get an audit. So let's get started. Here's the agenda. There's going to be a little bit about me, and then we have the list of items we're going to discuss, really from the start to the end of the process. And it starts with your contractual obligations, and then when you've had an audit, it's how the audit is settled if it turns out that you're under license. So a little bit about me. I started my IT career in 1987, working for one of the first ever PC resellers, and with Apple. Apple led me into Oracle. So I've been in IT well over 30 years. I've worked in government, some big government departments, as recently as last month. A lot of background in local government, health, energy, retail and transport. I was very early in the Oracle partner scheme in the 90s. Back then, Oracle was more on mainframes. I think it was on 200 platforms. That was in 1994. And as a software asset manager, I've been involved in licensing pretty much every vendor that I can think of. And that's been over 15 years. That's how long the industry's been calling it software asset management. After that, they didn't really call it anything, you just did it. And that's across data center, middleware and desktop, and more recently cloud and software as a service. The information I'm going to give you is really for guidance. At the end of the day, I can't, and neither can the UKOUG, take responsibility for the outcome of any commercial negotiations between Oracle and its subsidiaries, particularly the partner network and the companies that you represent. If you do get into this situation and you're having difficulties, I would suggest you seek expert advice to help you along with the process. So let's get started. Ever since I've known Oracle, basically you can download from my Oracle, we used to call it Metalink. They used to send out CDs and DVDs and even cartridges. There was no physical or technical restriction to installing software. So because of that, it's perfectly possible to install more than you're licensed for. Where Oracle have made acquisitions, where the products had license keys or some kind of mechanism like a dongle, that's showing my age, of course, they've actually removed those. So the general tenet of the way Oracle allow users to deploy software is they expect you to have controls, governance, and manage what you install. Therefore, in the contract, which is either your Oracle Master Agreement or the Software Services and License Agreement, there is a clause that basically says you're obliged to cooperate with an audit so that Oracle can check that you're correctly licensed. Again, we're back to the word defense. I would say it's not defense, it's management. And I think before you get into an audit or review situation, the best thing to do is to prepare and know your Oracle estate. So what are the risks? Well, it all stems from a lack of control. So there are two ways that lack of control can manifest itself. Firstly, there's under licensing. So that means that if you've installed more than you're licensed for, Oracle are perfectly within their rights to ask you to buy the licenses you need at full list. They may also ask you to back pay support. So that's effectively the full extent of it. Litigation is rare. There are some cases. They've tended not to be around licensing, but actually stealing IPR. And there were some people in America who actually got sent to prison for that. But generally, the risk is having to purchase the licenses you need and back paying support. There's another risk, and it's not often discussed, but it's over purchasing. And there are some documented cases of public sector bodies in the UK actually buying millions of pounds worth of Oracle that they were already licensed for. You basically have got no chance of a refund. So the risk there is that you spend money on something you already own. And that's why I say that you should have controls and processes to manage your licensing. I've actually done quite a lot of audits with Oracle. I've also done them with other vendors, and they are extremely time consuming. They seem to absorb all your time. Senior management get involved because of the potential risks. So it is an expensive process. I did one about this time last year, and I think the cost of the audit internally came to several hundreds of thousands of pounds. There are also third-party costs, and there are two particular ones. If your organisation outsources its IT to a third party, people like Atos, DXC, not picking on them particularly, but they're just the sort of people that are third-party IT suppliers. Quite often your contractual arrangements with them, where you need data, means that you have to raise a request for service or an RFS. In my experience, these are chargeable, and we're talking tens of thousands of pounds. Another thing to bear in mind is that a lot of the RFS processes are based on SLAs within the contract. So if you ask for a quote, they can take up to 28 days to respond. And then there's another iteration. You might need internal financial approval. And there are several steps, and that can actually take months. And of course, every month that goes by, you're meeting with Oracle, you're meeting with third-party vendor, there's internal meetings, and again, it's absorbing a huge amount of time. Not so much with Oracle, but with other vendors, they delegate the responsibility for the audit, or certainly the delivery of the audit, to one of the big four. And then all of a sudden you've got a fairly large cast of actors. You've got weekly review meetings, they want to come on site, they want to collect data. There's an awful lot of interaction, and that carries a cost. Not so much in the Oracle contract, but other contracts. If you're significantly under licensed, you may be liable to pay the external audit fees. So that's just something to bear in mind. So like I say, I'll keep saying this through the presentation, it's better to be organized and have your data ready, so that the whole audit process can be truncated as far as possible. The risk, and this is kind of more of a modern thing. If you're involved in a migration project, particularly to public cloud, and I'm talking about Azure and AWS, your licensing metrics may change. They don't if you're on a bring your own license model. But the other thing is the processor core factors you've enjoyed on your, probably the best example is legacy sandboxes, where the processor core factor is 0.25. That changes to 1 pretty much when you're in public cloud. There are some rules around hyper-threading and what effectively a V processor is worth in terms of Oracle processors. So if you're hyper-threaded in AWS, that's 2. Also, as you're doing the migration, you may be dual running, and the problem with that is that well, it at least doubles your licensing costs, and in my experience, suppliers have been slow to decommission, so the dual running has gone on far too long. Okay, so those are the risks. I haven't written it down. You could say reputational damage, but typically audits are a private affair. Okay, preparation. Audit defense, as I said earlier, is a misnomer. It's about management. If you're trying to manage this process once the audit has started, generally you're too late. You're on the back foot. You will be under pressure relentlessly to produce data.